Hi, it's Lindsay. I'm the Learning Content Manager for Because Learning. I'm here to introduce you to the 6th grade Earth and Space Science unit. Let's get started. All of our units come aligned with the NGS standards. The 6th grade Earth and Space Science unit comes aligned with Earth and Space Science, Physical Science, Life Science, Engineering, Technology, and the Application of Science, as well as some Common Core mathematics. The NGS standards can be found by clicking on an experiment and scrolling to the bottom, and clicking on the experiment guide. The experiment guide contains a lot of information such as a brief overview, a list of materials, pre-work that needs to be completed before your students try the experiment, grade level, vocabulary, and at the bottom it includes the specific NGS standards for that experiment. In addition to the experiment guide, the bottom of each experiment also contains links to troubleshooting tips in a help center in case you get stuck or encounter a problem, and a link to our community discussion, where you can post pictures of your students completing the experiment, as well as tips or suggestions for future curriculum development. Car temperature safety is different than any of the other experiments in this unit because it works best as a classroom demonstration. The students will collect data in a car to see how long it takes before the car reaches 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In the experiment titled Solar Ovens, the students will design and build a solar oven and then take data from the temperature sensor to determine how long it took to reach 40 degrees Celsius. The experiment titled Greenhouse Effect has the students exploring the greenhouse effect using a mason jar and the temperature sensor, and then they determine how it impacts the Earth and the Earth's systems. In Lunar Lander Crash Test, the students will build a container that simulates a lunar lander, and they will use the accelerometer to determine which lunar lander absorbs the most energy from the impact. The lesson titled Heat Absorption has the students asking the question, do different colors absorb different amounts of heat? The students will use a mason jar and different colors of tape or paper, and they will place the sensor board inside and access the temperature data. From there, they will interpret if different colors absorb or reflect different amounts of heat. Measuring the atmosphere with a luminosity sensor has the students collecting data from the luminosity sensor as they add drops of milk to a glass of water. Satellite data analysis with CODAP is an experiment that uses pre-collected data that has been taken from our sensor board in space and has the students analyzing the data to draw conclusions. There is a worksheet that is included with this experiment to help guide the students through the data analysis. Have you ever wondered what makes a chemical reaction endothermic or exothermic? In this experiment, students will mix baking soda and vinegar as well as yeast and hydrogen peroxide. They will collect data from the temperature sensor and use that data to interpret whether their chemical reaction was endothermic or exothermic. In the experiment titled Ice Cream Science, the students will use the temperature sensor to collect data, and then they will interpret that data to see what happens when you add salt to ice. The lesson titled Sea Turtles and Magnetic Fields has the students using the magnetometer to navigate a magnet map like a sea turtle. In the experiment titled Will It Conduct, the students will build a circuit using the breadboard and the Arduino, and then they will gather things from around the classroom and test them to see if they conduct electricity. Earthquake Simulator has the students building a structure using pipe cleaners and styrofoam balls, and then collecting data from the accelerometer on the sensor board to see how well their structure withstands a shake table. Have you ever wondered if vinegar encourages, discourages, or does nothing to stop mold growth? In this experiment, the students will use slices of bread in a baggie, one treated with vinegar and one left plain. Then they will compare observations over 10 days to see if vinegar does in fact hinder mold growth or encourage it. That gives you a brief introduction to our 6th grade Earth and Space Science unit. Before you teach any experiment in this unit to your students, we recommend that you go through the experiment as if you are the student. You wire up the circuit, you collect the data, you answer the questions. That way you'll be able to anticipate where your students will need extra support or more explanations. We hope you have fun exploring.